Hey BookTube, it's time to finally wrap up June.
I got my ticket for the long way round.
These are all of the fantasy and post-apocalyptic and sci-fi books that I read in June. Except that I have one other one to add here at the very outset because I forgot to add it in on my contemporary romance wrap-up. And that is The Fill-In Boyfriend by Kasie West. This is just a really light little fun, Kasie West kind of a book. She does YA romance and it's very light, seriously very light. This is about a girl whose boyfriend breaks up with her in the parking lot in a car as she's about to walk into her senior prom. And of course she's mortified because her friends have never met this guy and so they don't think he really exists. So she hurries and goes and sees another guy in the parking lot in a car and she asks him to fill in, and of course it then becomes the story of their romance. It's very cute, very light, like I say. How many times can I say that? Light, 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 like it floats away. Yeah, 3 stars. Okay, now on to the sci-fi and all the rest of that stuff. Starting with Outage by Elissa Barr. This is book 1 in the Powerless Nation series, and it was narrated on audio by Kate Rudd, who is fabulous. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Kate Rudd is fabulous, because she is. This book was pretty much saved by the narration. It's your standard post-apocalyptic. An EMP goes off, and of course civilization descends into chaos. This was okay. I think that there are books like it that are done better. There are 3 books in the series, but the 2 other books, which are Voyage and Sabotage, are kind of companion novels. They're not really sequels. They happen in the same world and kind of around the same characters, but the main characters in those books are not the same as the ones in the first book. Yeah, so 3 stars. Next up, The Moon Dwellers by David Estes. This was narrated on audio by Julia Whelan and Will Damron. Will Damron was fabulous, and Julia Whelan, I don't know that I'd go right to fabulous, but she's very good, and she made the book even better. Which brings me to the fact that David Estes is a friend of mine on Goodreads. He has his own group, and through that group I've met him and several other people that I consider very close friends, 2 that I've gone on trips with. So when, it came time for me to read this whole series, I started with The Moon Dwellers, and I had it on an ebook because it wasn't out on audio yet, and couldn't get through it. It just didn't draw me in. It's a dystopian where the surface of the earth is uninhabitable, so you have 3 realms, as it were, where people live under the ground, and where you live is dependent on your economic status. And you have 2 main characters. One is a reluctant prince, the other is a girl on the run. She's trying to save her family. He wants to escape the monarchy, and so, lots and lots and lots of action, which David is really good at. Okay, so I'm reading along. I just couldn't do it. And I felt so guilty because I love David and I really wanted to like his books. So when it came out on audio, I thought, okay, let's give this another shot. And I gotta tell you, completely different book. I was so pleased because it really is a pretty decent dystopian. I would call it above average. And it's a series. They're all out on audio. There's a companion series with it, and there are 3 books in that, and then they all culminate in one book that winds up all of them. So I'll put links to all that below. But suffice it to say, it was a 4-star book. Might want to give that one a try. But if you do, and you read it in print, let me know what you think of it, because, yeah, you might have the same feeling I do, and it might be totally different for you on audio as well. Until the Beginning. This is the title of the book that I can never get straight because the first one is called After the End. You would think that I would get this right, but I never do. So Until the Beginning is the sequel. This is a duology by Amy Plum, and on audio it is narrated by Emily Rankin and Graham Hamilton. Great narration. I really liked it. It's told from 2 points of view, which is why you have 2 narrators. It's about a girl named Juno. She lives in a very remote village in Alaska, and she goes on a hunting trip one day and comes back and her village has vanished. And she's been told all her life that the Third World War has happened. Well, come to find out, no, it's not. She figures this out as she goes on this journey to find her village. she runs into another guy named Miles, who's the son of a pharmaceutical magnate, and he feels like he's got to prove himself to his dad. So he goes on the search for this girl whom his dad is looking for reasons. So first book ended on this killer cliffhanger. I mean, like killer. And so this next book, the second book, picks up right there, thank God. You know, lots of action and beating the bad guy and that kind of thing. This book has a lot of Native American and New Age mysticism in it, which I kind of found a little bit refreshing from all the paranormal weird stuff that I read, which I've kind of gotten a little bit tired of in YA. And you know, honestly, I think this 2 books could have been 1 book. I really do think that. It was entertaining, but I like the first book better, and that's probably because the premise had been done, and this was sort of like a long way to the conclusion. So I just didn't think it needed to take that long. So I gave it 3 stars. Wicked Kiss, which is book 2 in another duology, the Nightwatchers duology. The first book in this series is Dark Kiss, and these are by Michelle Rowen. On audio, this was narrated by Amanda Ronconi. Amanda Ronconi was very, very good, so I have no complaints there. You know, again, this could have been 1 book. Sam, when she kisses boys, she sucks the life out of them, because she's got some affiliation with angels and fallen angels and demons, and it's a love triangle, and you know, I just slogged through this second book. It could have been 1 book, and that love triangle drove me right up a wall. So I kept rolling my eyes. So, you know, 3 stars. Now, the other thing about this duology is that Michelle Rowen is the actual name of Morgan Rhodes. Morgan Rhodes is her pen name. Now, we all know Morgan Rhodes wrote Fallen Kingdoms, which is red hot right now. It's a YA fantasy series, and then she's also released an adult companion series. I think it takes place in the same world, called The Book of Spirits and Thieves. And reading this Nightwatchers series, now I realize she wrote this like in, I don't know, 2012 and 2013 maybe. So I get that it's a while ago, and that an author is only going to get better, usually, when they're a good author. So, you know, I will give her that. And this is a completely different genre. But I gotta tell you that I am a little hesitant going into Fallen Kingdoms because I didn't like these 2 books, and it's the same author. So I'm going to give Fallen Kingdoms a try. I really am, because I think that it's worth that. But I make no guarantees, and I reserve the right to DNF it if I don't like it. The Decaying Empire by Laura Thalassa. This is the second book in a trilogy called the Vanishing Girl trilogy. First book is The Vanishing Girl, and this was narrated on an audio by Rachel Vivette, which is a pseudonym for Kate Rudd. Not sure why she did that. She's wonderful as Kate Rudd, so, but anyway. Premise is that the main character, Ember, is a girl who is a product of a government experiment, and she can teleport when she goes to sleep, but only for 15 minutes, and then she teleports back to wherever she started from. It's really an interesting premise, I have to say. Each of these kids that were genetically modified in this experiment to be able to teleport were created in pairs with another person that's made just for them. And so that would be Caden. So there's our love interest. So things ended pretty badly for Ember in the last book, in the first book. So this second book picks her up, waking up from a coma about 9 months later. Caden has been trying to get over her death. So of course, they get back together again. And then they go on the run from this agency that, you know, it's a very complicated thing with, you know, conspiracies and who's the bad guy and who do you trust and all that kind of thing. So, it was a moderately entertaining series, and I have a feeling that this second book is going to be considered as suffering from middle book syndrome when the third book comes out. You know, obviously, Kate Rudd made it better. I don't know that I would have bumped it up to 4 stars if it hadn't been Kate Rudd, but she's amazing. She's just amazing. Storm Siren by Mary Weber. This is the first book in the Storm Siren series, and this is narrated on audio by Christine Stevens. Okay, let me just start right now and tell you, do not get this book on audio. That narration is deplorable. It is so bad. So bad. I tried, man, I tried speeding her up to twice the speed, and I just couldn't do it. I did finish this book as an ebook, but man, did I struggle to get through it. And it's all about a girl her name is Nim. She's an elemental. She controls the weather, and she's a slave, and she gets bought by this woman who is very wealthy and trying to finance a revolution and use people like Nim to do it. And a whole lot of Nim getting trained, learning to be in control of her power rather than it being in control of her. So, okay, whatever. I don't know if I just got off on the wrong foot with this book or what, but I don't know. I just didn't care for it. But the second book is out now. It's called Siren's Fury, and I'm going to give that one a try on audio because I've sampled the narrator and she's a lot better. I mean, well, I'm not sure that you can be any worse than the narrator for the first book, but I'm going to give the second book a try. We'll see where that goes. But again, it's like Fallen Kingdoms. I reserve the right to DNF it if I just can't do it. And lastly, An Ember in the Ashes by Sabah Tahir. I bought this book after I listened to it. It is narrated on audio by Fiona Hardingham and Steve West. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This book is so good. It is brutal. It is raw. It is ruthless. It's set in a fantasy world that is very much akin to the Roman Empire. Where you have gladiators in the Roman Empire, you have guys who are called masks in this book, and they are called that because they wear a mask that fits itself to their faces and becomes part of their face after a while. They go through a very, very rough, very brutal, I'm going to say that word a lot because that's the best word to describe it, very brutal military school in order to graduate to become a mask. And so we have two main characters, Elias, who is a recent graduate of the school, who is also the son of the commandant who runs the school. Now this woman is a monster. She is a merciless sadist. She hates her son Elias because in having him, she felt like it made her look weak as a soldier. And she's done everything she can do to make him fail. And of course, he's the star student. And he wants to run away because he's sick and tired of the whole thing. So he's going to do that, and he decides not to. And he becomes a candidate to become the next emperor with 3 other candidates. They're called aspirants. The other main character is Leia. One night, the masks come in and they arrest and take her brother away for treason. And they kill her grandparents right in front of her. And fortunately, while one of their heads is turned, she runs. So she goes to the resistance and she talks them into letting her go and work for them as a spy in exchange for getting her brother out of where he's being held. She'll do anything to get her brother out. She gets herself sold as a slave to become a servant in the commandant's household. The monster, the sadist, the merciless wretch of a woman who runs the military school. So Leia has to struggle to survive that. She has to find information on this woman that will aid the resistance in their efforts to overthrow the empire. So there you have it. Character development is amazing. Even secondary characters have a personality with some depth. The action never lags, and how brutal it is just grabs you. You really want these two characters to be able to overcome their circumstances. It just grabs you, and then by the end you're going, whoa. This, I think, originally was going to be a standalone, and the author left the ending open so she can do a sequel, and I think now she's planning on doing, the standard series. 5 stars. Yeah, like I had to say that. 5 stars. It was amazing. Amazing. Okay, so that is June. That wraps up June. I want to know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. And especially this book. I want to know if you've read this, what you thought of it. Did you find it as gripping as I did, or did you just kind of go, it was okay? I'm just curious. So, that's it for now for me. And I will see you next time, and thanks for watching.
When I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk. You're gonna miss me by my taco. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone.